Liam, I've done stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah. The first thing I've done...
Yeah?
Read a bloody book, Liam.
Oh my goodness. So, right.
I think this is the first book
It
since The Nightmare.
So, for any listeners that maybe missed that period of the podcast, because this was a period that lasted about a year.
Yeah.
So, right. When we first started, Ellie... Oh, she used to love her books, didn't you?
I've always loved reading, Liam. Always loved reading. Used to read hundreds of books.
It's
mind-blowing.
used to devour them like a little book goblin, weren't you?
I did.
And then you used to come on the podcast.
My dad had to send me to... My dad would have to come and check up on me at midnight. He'd say, you still awake? And I go, no. And he'd go, stop reading, go to bed. And I go, fine.
Yeah, and then you'd come on the podcast and you'd tell me all about the books you've read. And
there's a gap in between there. My dad wasn't checking up on me at midnight recently.
No, there was. And then, so you'd come on the podcast, you'd tell me all about it. And I hated these book reviews because you'd come on and you would always read like fantasy.
Yeah,
or
stuff
like
I liked.
Grim
Sci-fi, fantasy.
Yeah.
I did it in different waves. Was my thing. I was going through a bunch of different like fantasy subgenres.
Yeah. So you would.
So I did grimdark. I did gunpowder fantasy.
Yeah.
I did Name of the Wind, which isn't a subgenre of fantasy. It's just one of the best fantasy books of recent times.
Honestly, listeners, it would just piss me off. Ellie would come on and she'd be like, I've read 5 books from this book series. I'd be like, oh, okay.
Yep.
And then she'd be like, it's brilliant. I loved it. It had elves and wizards and it was 5 out of 5. I'm like, okay. And then...
So what was your solution to that, Liam?
No, right. But then, right...
To me loving books.
But here's the thing. It was only later when I was editing it for YouTube, I was like, oh, these book reviews, terrible. Because like sometimes you'd forget to tell me who the author was. I think there was an entire book review where you didn't even tell me what the book was called. And I had to message you when I was editing the YouTube video and be like, what was this? It pissed me off. So then we had a discussion, right? And I was trying to get you to review these books better. And one of those ways was I started giving you book recommendations. And we had a good one. We started off good. We had Nocturnal, if you remember that.
Yeah, it was a good book.
And then you read a couple of other... Is it Scott Spielger who wrote that?
Yeah, I think so.
You read a couple others of his.
I read the Infected trilogy.
Yeah. Then I got you to read a James Herbert book called Fluke that I have...
Wasn't Fluke first?
It might have been, yeah, to be honest.
I think Fluke was first, which was not good.
You didn't massively enjoy it.
No. About man being a dog.
But I was trying to like broaden your reading. So instead of just getting like a whole wave of fantasy, we'd get little bits here and there. So I gave you like it was like a what? Monstery, crimey book, Nocturnal.
Yeah.
And
like
then
the kind of book I read.
Yeah, then Fluke was about a guy that turns into a dog.
Was a dog, becomes a dog.
Yeah.
Liam doesn't have a catalogue of books to pull from, so he just gave me shit he read as a kid.
Yeah. And we all know how my memory of things I enjoyed as a kid has panned out. If
you don't, go find the Feast episodes.
Yeah. And then I gave you a book that is widely regarded as a classic.
Yep.
It's listed on, I think, 1001 books you should read before you die.
They're wrong.
Yeah, it's American Psycho.
Yep.
And that started your year-long adventure into trying to read American Psycho.
Yep.
With just one simple book. I totally removed book reviews from this show.
Yep, they died.
They
died for a year.
Yeah, I think if anything, I started doing book reviews because I felt a bit guilty and had to make up. So I reviewed like Carrie and Fight Club and a few good books that I enjoyed. Then you finally finished American Psycho, and I was like, "Oh, this is good. Ellie's going to get back into her book reviews now."
And it turned out what Liam had done was picture someone taking like there's a picture of fireplace, a lovely warm fireplace, and in that fireplace is a poker being heated up.
Yeah.
And then Liam grabbed that poker from the fireplace, turned round, plunged it into my reading centre of my heart, and just cauterized it out of me. With the fire that is trying to read American Psycho.
I mean, you have to admit it's kind of impressive.
I mean, no, I know you, so no. This is 100% a Liam thing, and I'm not impressed you did it. I'm just like, yeah, that Liam did that. That makes sense.
Yeah, because
he didn't like the book. He didn't like the book reviews, so he killed them.
Yeah, I did. So, you're back with a book review now?
Yeah, feeling guilty after all that, Liam eventually said, I was talking to him recently and said, I might try and read something again.
Yeah.
I might let my eyes peruse the words of a page.
The thing that confuses me is when you were doing American Psycho, we had a discussion where you're like, there's all these book series that you'd read before that you were enjoying, you've reviewed on the podcast, and they had new entries come out, and you were like...
Well, I did... I think I stopped either in the middle or very early on in American Psycho to do the final book of We Are Bob, We Are Legion.
Oh, I didn't know you've read that.
I definitely have.
Okay.
And I think we spoke about it on the podcast, but it might have been quite early on in the Year of Darkness.
Yeah. There were definitely other books that came out that you were like, oh, I'm really excited to read.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's Brandon Sanderson has released a couple of like ending books to trilogies that I was reading that I loved.
What annoys me is
one of my favourite authors.
I went to Waterstones recently, and for some reason they don't have like a horror section. It's horror and sci-fi.
Yeah, they've always had it combined like that.
Yeah,
it's weird.
And I kept seeing books that you'd reviewed in this section, and it just riled me up. Like
because I read the best shit.
Is it a Crown of Crown for
Crown of Cold Silver?
Yeah, that was there.
Yeah, it's a good book.
Oh, it doesn't look it.
There's some real good books in that Waterstone section, Liam. Whew.
And you're ignoring them all.
Yeah, because you killed reading.
I know, it's brilliant. So yeah, if anything,
to ease myself back in to the pool.
Yeah.
Reading,
you went for a D&D book, right?
Yeah, because I'm on a real D&D kick at the moment. I'm watching all the bloody tabletop RPG shows, every single fucking one.
Did you start watching Relics or whatever it is?
No, I've got distracted watching Sirens of the Realms.
Okay.
And Dimension 20, for listeners that listen to my review of that, have just started their side quest series, and that is pure gold. Go listen to it. Go watch it, listeners. It's fucking beautiful. I did a D&D book.
What was it
called?
The
D&D book I settled on, Liam. It's part of a series. I've only read the first one. It's called Brimstone Angels.
Okay, so immediately I'm hearing that and I'm thinking, oh, that sounds awful. So you loved it.
Yeah. Written by Erin M. Evans.
Is that
published by Wizards of the Coast? Type novel.
Wait,
cover art.
Is it female author?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Because I think typically the assumption is that sort of fantasy books quite male authors.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like George R. R. Martin, Terry Pratchett, Tolkien. The big names tend to be male.
Yeah, all right, calm down.
Not saying that men are better or anything.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, so it's a D&D book, which means it's set in the setting of, like, there are a number of D&D settings.
Yeah.
This one is set in Faerun, or the Forgotten Realms, which is like, it's basically, for those of you that don't know, which I imagine is most of you, that's like the default D&D setting.
Yeah.
That's where it's set. If you're not setting a setting, that's where you are. This book is about two tieflings, which are a race of half demon, half human.
Okay.
They have pointy horns, long tails, and traditionally in the D&D world are sort of stigmatized for being demons.
This is what you want to play, isn't it, when we do D&D?
Hell yeah, you're going to notice a trend as I read this, as I tell you about this book, Liam.
Have you basically stolen your character from this book?
No, mine is pretty individual. It's just the basic premise is this.
Okay.
Because fuck yeah. I mean, mainly because it's the coolest fucking thing.
Right.
But basically it's about these two sisters, Havilah and Faraday, who are twins.
Yeah.
They've been raised by their adopted dad,
Yeah.
who is a dragonborn, which are these big dragon humanoid men. Mm-hmm. He's trying to train them both to be warriors and deal with the fact that he's a dragonborn and doesn't super know how to raise kids.
Yeah.
So he sort of has trained them in martial combat. One of them is very good at it, Havilah, and the other one, Faraday, is not so good at it. And they sort of do this thing where, like, their whole lives, whenever one of them's good at something, the other one usually gets... Everyone will be like, oh, you're the smart one, therefore you must be the stupid one. And they're sort of trying to battle with the fact that they aren't, and they both are people, but because they're twins, they're dealing with that, and the fact they're tieflings and no one likes them, and the fact they're being raised by a dragonborn and he doesn't know how to raise them properly. Mm-hmm. But the like basic premise of this book is Havilah tries to summon a demon to prove she can do it. Faraday comes into the room as that's happening and is like, holy shit, what the fuck are you doing? This is ridiculous. And then instead of summoning just a small little demon, a Cambion, which is a literal half-demon human, not a tiefling, like a full-on demon human man.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. His name is... It doesn't say his name here. Why does it not say his name? That's pretty fucking important. Oh, can't remember his fucking name.
John?
Basically, yeah, John the Cambion.
Yeah.
Havilah summons it, but Faraday ends up making a pact with this demon and becomes a warlock, which is like a person who gets their magic from a deal they made with a devil.
Yeah. Like in World of Warcraft.
Yeah. Or like D&D, where World of Warcraft stole a lot of stuff from. And then you basically have to... The book is following Faraday trying to deal with what that means now that she's got this deal.
Yeah.
Havilar trying to deal with the fact that she summoned the demon, but it's bonded with her sister, and whether to trust the demon or not.
No, never trust a demon.
And then the same with the Dragonborn dad. He's also like, oh shit, I don't want to trust a fucking demon. That's insanity.
Yeah.
And it's just all that. And then they go on this adventure to Neverwinter, which is a very famous city. There's video games based on it. It's fucking cool. But yeah, the book is like, I really loved the characters in it as like exploring what a tiefling faces in the D&D world.
Yeah. And
like the prejudice that comes with that. And then looking into the demonic side of D&D. And also it's warlocks, which are just a fucking cool class in D&D. They're badass.
My first D&D character was a warlock named Garth.
Garth Marenghi.
That's where I got the idea from, yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't last long, unfortunately. Made a pact with a demon, and the entire party turned against him. But, okay, here's what I want to say about all that. I think having this year off of reading has helped your reviews, because that was a much better review than what we used to get. Like, I actually feel like I now have an idea of what the plot to that book was. So, I think overall, probably a good thing that you stopped reading for a year.
No. Oh, no. You're not going to get out of it that easily, Liam. You killed reading for me.
I did, yeah.
So don't try and convince yourself that you helped me, because you didn't.
If anything, I think I now read more than you do.
Ooh, I'm going to take a little bit of issue with that, because the stuff you're reading is written for children, so...
Not all of it.
It's almost like looking at a picture book, Liam, and being like, I read a lot.
I mean, there's words.
No, what you're doing does not get to count as reading. You're reading Goosebumps and Point Horror.
The Point Horror counts.
No, it doesn't. The
does.
Point Horror barely counts.
It counts.
For every 10 words of Point Horror you read, you're really reading one big boy word.
So yeah, I do think your book review was better that time.
Good.
No, yeah, I think it's... Oh, I've knocked my earphone out. I think it was good.
Liam got too excited, listeners.
I think it's good for the podcast. That's what we have to bear in mind.
Good.
What book are you going to read next? Are you going to keep on with this series?
I don't know, maybe.
Or are you going to read something new and exciting?
We'll see, Liam.
Maybe I'll give you a recommendation.
No, you don't get to recommend books anymore.
No, now I want to find a book to make
Until
up for
you
it.
read... This is my thing.
Here we go.
Right? Until you read The Fucking Stand, you don't get to suggest any books
But that's
anymore.
like 1,000 pages, isn't
I
it?
don't care. You made me stop reading for a year.
Yeah.
The Stand will not take you a year to read until you read The Stand. This is the new rule, Liam. If you want me to stop reviewing... Oh, this is good, because this will get me back into reading.
Oh, here we go.
I'll tell you what I'm going to read next, listeners.
Yeah.
A bunch of fucking fantasy shit and sci-fi shit. And guess what? It'll all be on the top sellers list, and I'll love them all, and they'll all be 4s, and Liam will hate it.
You'll be
and
like...
the only time I will stop and let Liam suggest books is once he reads the book that I've suggested since day one of the fucking podcast, Stephen King's The Stand.
The thing is, I have about 150 books to read until then.
Yep. So I guess you're in for a lot of me reviewing fantasy.
I'm okay with the fantasy books, right? I'm okay. My brain shuts down as soon as you start telling me what the characters are called. My brain just goes fucking ridiculous and just turns off. You're like, oh, he's called like Harvarth the elf, and I'm just like, don't care. I've just stopped listening at that point. I don't know why. Like, if I watch a fantasy film, I'm on board with it. But hearing you talk about fantasy books, I hate it.
To be fair, it's now making a bit more sense that you're reading Point Horror and Goosebumps, where every character is just like Tim and Jane.
No, okay, the Point Horror ones, they have ridiculous names sometimes. Like, the most recent one that...
Didn't we have 6 Jennies?
We had 3 Jennies. The most recent one's got a Belinda and a Hildy.
Jesus, okay, fair enough.
I can't remember what the one before that was, but it was a fucking stupid name, wasn't it? Like, Margaret?
It's not a stupid name. Stop insulting people's names.
It's just an old lady name, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Anyway, I give Brimstone Angels a 4 out of 5.
I hate that title. What's the next one called in that series?
I will find out for you, Liam.
And have you marked it as read on Goodreads?
Oh, I don't know if I have, actually. I should check.
Yeah.
The next one is called Brimstone Angels, Lesser Evils.
I hate it, yeah.
Then there's The Adversary, then Fire in the Blood, Ashes of the Tyrant, and The Devil You Know. Ooh.
I'll be honest, like, if you took out like the Brimstone Angels part of that, a lot of those just sound like dodgy, like, erotica titles.
Yeah, anything could be a dodgy erotica title.
No, but like they actually proper sound like they
Fire
could
in the
be...
Blood, Ashes of the Tyrant and The Devil You Know. The Devil You Know and Fire in the Blood, yes.
Yeah, Ashes.
The Adversary and Ashes of the Tyrant. I would read an erotic book called Ashes of the Tyrant, but I wouldn't expect it to be a standard erotic book.
No, definitely not. No. Okay, so yeah, you're back to reading. Hooray!
Yay.
Maybe Gibbo will start listening again.